There comes a point in time in everyone's healing journey, self-awareness journey, self-growth, whatever, where you know what you gotta do to get what you want. And then you allow your conditioning to get in the way of that. And this is when maybe you let your people-pleasing tendencies take over. Maybe you let your addictions take over. Maybe you let a moment of instant gratification take over. You let your feelings in the moment cause you to make a decision that isn't going to benefit you in the long run. Because maybe your self-worth, maybe you valuing a connection over your self-respect, whatever it may be. There comes a point in time where you've been doing the work, you've been doing everything correctly thus far, and then you take a step back and you go back to maybe an old pattern, an old habit, an old way of coping, and then you really want to beat yourself up about it. You really want to feel bad, you want to sulk, you want to go back to your old ways because you just acted out of character, out of integrity, out of the new version of you. But you've learned enough to this point to realize that you can't go back. You have too much self-awareness to go back to your old ways. You love yourself too much to go back there. And you can see your vision for the future. You know what you want, you know what you desire. And going back is just not an option. So what do you do instead? You have to take responsibility for your life, for your choices, yet again, and give yourself grace and be like, you know what? I messed up. It wasn't great, but I'm still here right now. I can still make a choice to move forward in a positive way. I can still choose to align with my best interests, or I can self-destruct. What's it gonna be? Hey, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. This video is all about why you need to act in alignment with your best interests, even when you've messed up, even when you've made a mistake on your healing journey, even when you've fallen back into old conditioning and old patterns. This is how you pick yourself back up and say to yourself, you know what, it's okay. I'm human, I'm gonna make mistakes. I've had this many, 20 plus, however many years old you are, years of conditioning. Of course, I might slip up sometimes and not act completely in my own best interests and the best interests of us as a collective. This is a moment where you get to choose yourself and to put yourself first and to put your goals, dreams, hopes, desires, needs, wants, everything you want for yourself first. Again, make that choice again to commit to yourself again and continue on your healing self-awareness journey. So I'm going to be sharing with you what I do when I fall back into my old ways and I have to remind myself, no, you're above that. You're better than that. So do better. Act better. Be better for yourself. Because at the end of the day, regardless if you have other people around you, whether it's partners, friends, family, whatever, you are going to be with you for the rest of your life up until the day you die. So you need to have a good relationship with yourself. Your most important relationship in life is the one you have between you and you. So when you mess up, when you do yourself wrong, when you don't treat yourself the way you should, you have to make it better. You have to make up for it. You have to give yourself that kindness, that compassion, that love, that forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself. You have to be able to let it go. Be like, okay, maybe I slipped up on my fitness journey, my healthy diet, whatever. Okay, it happens. What am I gonna do about it now? Was it ideal to go and binge eat a bunch of candy that I know is gonna make me feel sick? No, but I can't turn the clock back and take that decision back. I can't undo what I did that hurt my body in the first place. But what I can do is make the decision to act in alignment with my best interests moving forward, to be fully authentic to the person that I'm choosing to be, the person that I desire to be. And if that person is a healthy, fit individual, then that means I need to stick with my 80-20 rule of eating clean and healthy 80% of the time, and then 20% letting myself have whatever I feel like. So there's no going back. You can't change the past. But what you can do is just act in alignment with your goals moving forward and be kind to yourself along the way. Don't just say like, oh, I messed up once, let me go back to my old ways and completely fall down the spiral, because then it gets even harder to pull yourself back up once you're further down. But if you've made, maybe 1-2 little hiccups, mistakes along the way, it's like, okay, that wasn't great. I don't feel good about it. In fact, I feel a little bit of shame. I feel a little bit of guilt. I'm kind of sad. I'm really disappointed in myself. Allow yourself to feel that. Be like, this is what happens when you do that. You feel like this. Fair. But let's not linger there. We don't need to stay there. We just need to know that's how we feel when we do the things that we know are lower in frequency and alignment than who we see ourselves being, who we want to be, who we are becoming, who we are, when we choose to be the higher version. So note the feelings of that. And then when you get put in the same situation to make that choice again, remind yourself of how you will feel in the future if you make the same choice to indulge or act out of alignment with yourself. Whether that's people pleasing, maybe saying yes to doing things with your friends when you know you need to work or journal or meditate or do something to take care of yourself. Know how you're gonna feel after. Remind yourself how you're gonna feel after. Be like, yeah, it'll be fun in the moment, maybe, but afterwards, am I gonna be happy with myself? Am I gonna be okay with myself? Am I gonna feel good about myself? If the answer is no, don't do it. And just keep reminding yourself over and over again, because it's gonna keep coming up. These are lessons you need to learn. If they're coming up and they're showing up in your life repeatedly, it's because you need to learn them. In life, there's different themes that we choose when we come in here. This is getting a little spiritual, but like, hear me out. We have certain themes, certain almost lessons, if you will, that we need to learn. That's part of like our purpose. So if you keep having the same or similar patterns repeat themselves, it's because you need to learn something. It's because you need to do something different to change it. And as you make different choices to benefit you and your alignment as a whole in this world, then you get to see the changes. And the changes happen pretty quickly because it takes you from a lower level, a lower frequency, to a much higher one when you choose to prioritize yourself first, to put your needs, your best interests, your desires first, your well-being first. So when you put your well-being first, not only does it benefit you, but it benefits everyone around you, because then you are operating at a much higher frequency of love as opposed to fear. When you choose to people please, oh my god, the lawnmowers. Please ignore all the noises. I'm leaving the window open because it's like warm today and I wanted that breeze, that fresh air. But basically, should I pause? I'll pause for a second. Honestly, lawnmowers sound like cows to me. Moo. It's not even a lawnmower. I think it's a bush chopper. Could be a lawnmower, I don't know. Beats me. But anyway, when you act in alignment with your higher self, when you act from a loving place and not a place of fear, you're actually making the world a better place. You're making it better for people to be around you. You have better energy. You're more abundant. You can help more people. You're coming from a place of a filled up glass as opposed to a place of fear where you're like clinging to things, taking from people, taking from the earth, taking from yourself, giving of yourself things that you don't even have to give. That's acting from a place of fear. When you people please, you're acting from a place of fear. When you go back into your old pattern, these noises. When you go back into your old patterns, maybe indulge in a bad habit or fall back into an addiction, that's acting out of a place of fear where you're afraid to feel your emotions. You're afraid to be in reality, be in the present moment, face yourself, face what's happening around you. When you choose to face that, you choose to be brave, and that's when you act from a place of love. You choose to allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. That allows you to heal. It allows you to grow. It allows you to become a more self-aware, positive person who can contribute in healthy, loving ways to yourself and the world and the people around you. So part of what inspired me to make this specific video in the first place this week was the fact that I noticed myself starting to fall back into my pattern of people pleasing, which I've talked about a lot on here, and it's something that I have to consciously work on a lot. And I noticed how not only was it affecting my connections with other people, but it was also really affecting my connection to myself and how I was showing up for myself in my life. And I feel like the past 2 weeks, I've noticed the damage from it the most, which luckily, because I have done so much healing work in the first place, it really wasn't that bad or drastic. But since I am operating from such a higher place of love, when I do get into those lower emotional states, it can still be really tough. And even though I'm still functioning almost normally, I can notice where I'm starting to drop the ball a little bit on certain areas of my life. So even though it may not be super noticeable to an outsider looking in, I know within myself that I am not fully in alignment with my best interests right now, and it all was stemming from certain tendencies that I was indulging in of people pleasing and maybe placating to others a little bit to try to win their love and their care for me when I don't need to do that. I am past that and I know that. So it's like really getting recentered in myself, really grounding myself in who I am and reminding myself of my worthiness as a human on this planet. and that I need to put myself first, prioritize myself as number one, especially if I am interacting with other people and I want them to respect me and I want them to prioritize me as well. If I'm not being my number one advocate, then how can I expect anyone else to advocate for me? So what that meant for me was I needed to really go over my boundaries and see where I was dropping the ball on them, pinpoint exactly where, and then notice all the little small boundary breaks I made along the way to get there, and reverse engineer backwards to the smallest one where I was like, oh, you know what, it's okay. For example, I could stay out a little late. Yeah, it's fine. Is it really fine when you wake up the next morning really tired and then you don't really want to do your workout? So you're giving a half effort workout session? No, it's not okay. You're dropping the ball on yourself, Julia. So I had to really be honest with myself, get real, and be like, Julia, no, we're not gonna do that. We don't do that anymore. A connection with anyone is not worth it if you have to lower yourself to keep it. So I got real, and then I got sad because I was like, oh, this sucks. I may have to cut some people out of my life, or I may need to put some people on the back burner that I don't want to because it's taking away from me. But any connection that is taking away from you is not worth it if those people can't respect you, your boundaries, and your needs. So if these people in my life can respect me and my boundaries and needs, of course they can stay, maybe at a further distance until further notice. I won't necessarily have to completely cut them out, but if they can't accept what I need, whether it's space, whether it's certain needs that I need them to meet for me, then they can't stay in my life because I will have to be putting myself down to keep them close. And if I ever have to do that again, oh well, I won't. I just won't, because it's not worth it. So whatever it is that you are lowering your boundaries or your standards for in your life, really take a good hard look at it and ask yourself, is this worth it? Is it really worth it? Chances are it's not. Chances are you're worth more than whatever it is you're settling for or lowering yourself for. And I know the long-term results of lowering myself for something, and they're not pretty. It will damage your mental health. It will damage your emotional health. Your nervous system will be wrecked. And then what happens? You start to have lots of little diseases, health issues in your body. And then what happens after that? They get more severe, and then what happens after that? I think we all know. So your health, your well-being, your life is not worth lowering your needs, your wants, your standards, your boundaries for anything, whether that's a job, whether that's a person, whether that's friendships, family, activities, unhealthy addictions. Well, most addictions are unhealthy, but you know what I mean. Regardless of what it is, your life is not worth it. Your life is worth so much more. So you need to see it that way. You need to zoom out and look at the full picture of what will happen if you continue to drop your boundaries, to disrespect yourself, to not honor yourself, and not be sovereign within. Because yeah, it can be really uncomfortable to deal with some negative emotions. Yeah, it's not fun. But feeling those negative emotions and dealing with them is worth so much more than avoiding them and indulging in negative habits and behaviors that are only going to drag you down in the long run. And most of these issues really at the end of the day are stemming from our self-worth. If we raise our self-worth and we see ourselves as so much higher up than how we see ourselves when we're making those negative decisions, we see ourselves so much lower. But we need to see ourselves as our higher selves, because we are our higher selves. We just have to tap into that energy of them. And when we do, it raises our self-worth. We see ourselves as worthy of life, worthy of love. And then we don't want to hurt ourselves anymore. Like, if you're ever having trouble seeing yourself as a worthy person, just look at yourself in the mirror and think of the child version of you. Think of your inner child. You won't want to hurt yourself anymore. In fact, you're probably going to start to feel angry for all the things that have happened to you, because you want to protect that inner child. And your protector part usually will show up as anger. So if you're having trouble seeing yourself as worthy, take a look at that inner child, because he or she or they or them, they're worthy. They always are. You are worthy for literally just being born and existing on this planet. So remember that. Another thing that inspired me to make this video was I got a question from Snapchat about what to do if you know you're in a situationship where you're not benefiting benefiting at all, and yet you're choosing to stay in it. And I kind of went off on that person, not in a negative way, but I was giving tough love because it seemed like she knew that she deserved better, but yet was making the choice to stay in something that was, again, like she said, not benefiting her. And that's a really tough place to be. I think we've all been there at certain points in our life. And really at the end of the day, I told her, you have to choose yourself. Like I'm telling you guys right now, you have to choose yourself, and you have to see yourself as worth more than the connection with somebody who isn't even caring about you, isn't even treating you well, isn't even making you feel good about yourself. The only reason people stay in negative situations, whatever they may be, is because somewhere inside of them, they hate themselves. Like they're not being loving towards themselves. You can't have somebody treat you in a terrible way if you aren't already treating yourself within yourself in a terrible way. I mean, like if it's a one-time offense and you are like, whoa, no, I don't want that, and you leave, okay, yeah, there's a difference. You know, if you don't have the choice to leave and you're stuck there, okay, that's different. Like if you're a child with abusive family members, okay, that's different. But I'm talking about more of a situation where you're an adult and you can choose to go or stay, and you're choosing to stay in something that's just not good for you. That's what I'm talking about. But it really takes choosing to face yourself. Because I know for me, when I think back on toxic relationships or toxic situations that I was a part of, there was always a piece of me that wasn't loving me. And that's why I was choosing to be there, choosing to stay in that. Healing is not linear. And when you find yourself making those same mistakes or falling back into patterns, be kind to yourself as you're pulling yourself out of it. Choose to forgive yourself. Choose not to hold this over your head and belittle yourself. It's only gonna make you feel worse, and then you're gonna end up coping in another way and building another negative pattern. No, like look at yourself as that inner child. If your inner child, you know, makes a mistake and touches a hot stove, you're not gonna yell at the inner child and be like, you're so bad, like you should know better. It's like, no, like, yeah, like you know the stove is hot, you know you're not supposed to touch it, but you touched it. You did. We can't undo the touching of it. Your hand hurts. So let's go take care of your hurting hand. Let's run it under cold water. Let's get you some ice. You need to be that way with yourself and your emotions. You need to be like, you did the thing that you know you're not supposed to do. Okay, now how do we heal? How do we work through this? How do we get you back on track? That's what you have to do. That's how you have to be with yourself. And the more you practice this, the easier it gets. The better you get at it. It's a skill. It's literally reparenting yourself. And the more you reparent yourself and you do this, the quicker you move through these lower states of emotions and behaviors. And then you don't end up doing them anymore. You grow out of it eventually. It becomes like, oh wow, that? No, never. I would never do that again. I can't even like fathom being in that place again, because I'm here now, and here is just so drastically different. So that's it for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you.